Okay, welcome back for the Friday directions. First off, again, make sure you turn in the early Mesopotamia reading guide if you haven't. Same thing with the Mesopotamia vocab sheet. Make sure you turn that in. Both those are due today. I'll grade them probably this afternoon before we leave. Hopefully, that's my plan. Today, we're just going to continue on our notes. We're going to do the next kind of rulers of Mesopotamia. So far, we've covered the Sumerians, the first group, who really didn't have a leader. They were more just a collection of city-states, where we don't consider them to really have a ruler. But they're like kind of the first civilization, so that's important. Then we cover the next group, which was the Akkadians and Sargon the Great, who was the first emperor. And then yesterday we moved on and we talked about the Babylonian Empire, the first time that they're in charge, because again, they are in charge, or they do rule Mesopotamia twice. And yesterday we just looked at their first main king, which was Hammurabi and his law code. We talked about Salinization, which was a big piece of why the Akkadian Empire fell, which allowed for the Babylonians to take over. And then we talked about Hammurabi and his code, the 282 legal principles. A lot of them are bent on revenge, like the eye for an eye theory, which is legal. And obviously, this is the first ever law system ever created, so we have to know it. We still have laws today, and if we see something like that, we definitely have to know it on the quiz. So know Hammurabi, know what he does. He's the lawgiver. He has the codes. All right. And then today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the next group, which is the Assyrian Empire. Now, these people are, as you can see here, it's a land bathed in blood, because these would be the most fearsome warriors in Mesopotamia. And a lot of it comes down to their religion. In the Assyrian religion, if conquest stops, then the world turns apocalyptic. So, to make sure we don't live in a world, an apocalypse, we have to keep having conflict. Basically, they have to be at war in their religion all times, otherwise the world turns apocalyptic. So they just kind of keep on going on the war path, win or lose. All right, so you can see here, I'll just kind of scroll through it for the most part. The one thing, here's one of the main kings you want to know. It's Sennacherib. And we want to know that he built this city called Nineveh. And Nineveh becomes like the Assyrian capital. And it's a pretty sweet city. There's a lot of stuff that it's more advanced than the average city. It has aqueducts that brought water 50 miles away. If you guys don't know what aqueducts are, just imagine like a bridge where the goal is to have it tilted slightly like a water slide. That's the perfect way. It's like a giant water slide, except it looks like a bridge. And it collects rainwater, and the bridge is angled so slightly downhill that the water slowly starts to trickle downhill into your city. So it's a way of collecting a bunch of rainwater, and that's what happens. So they have the city of Nineveh has aqueducts. It has zoos for the first time, so people are seeing animals that they have never seen before. All these animals that were even considered like mythical. Like, imagine if you're a person and you see like a giraffe or an elephant for the very first time. You've never seen one. Okay, and so like obviously these things look like legit mythical creatures. All right, so they get zoos for the first time. The libraries for the first time, collecting and holding and storing all these different resources and data. That's the first time. So the city of Nineveh is like kind of becoming the first modern city. Okay, so Sennacherib, he does a good thing with the library. He does a good thing with the zoos and blah, blah, blah. But he does one bad thing. He ends up conquering Babylonia. He conquers Babylon. And instead of letting the people of the city of Babylon go, he ends up just murdering everybody in the city. And that's just what the Assyrians do. Okay, so keep that in mind. Sennacherib built the city of Nineveh. The city of Nineveh is amazing. It becomes the capital of the Assyrian Empire. Becomes kind of the most modern city in the world because it has all these awesome things. But Sennacherib, he is Assyrian, so because of this, he's going to end up doing some bad stuff, okay, which is basically murdering the entire populace of Babylon. Now, the next king that takes over, his name is Ashurbanipal, and so he takes over from Sennacherib. Ashurbanipal does pretty good. He's big in the libraries. He builds, his most famous one is probably building the Library of Nineveh. That was kind of his thing. So he's big at that. but he's also Assyrian. So if you're an Assyrian, you do some crazy things. So his main thing, what he would do, is when they would conquer rulers, he would take dog collars and he would put them through the jaw of his enemies, and he would basically have the other side's king as his pet, live in a cage, all these things. Okay, so Ashurbanipal, crazy guy, but he likes books. But when it comes to leading and treating other civilizations, he's just as ruthless as any other Assyrian. Okay, um, the Jewish captives that has to come with the Assyrians as well. They do capture Jews and they kind of bring them around. Diaspora is what we call it, but we'll talk about that more when we get to Egypt. But that's basically what happens. You can kind of see the innovations here. We always like to know the innovations of the different rulers and the different civilizations or city states that are in control. So, like for example, Babylonia and the Babylonians, they were big into math. The Assyrians, they're big into warfare. So we get different things like this, like battering rams. All right, we get pontoons, we get life jackets to make sure that we can cross rivers and our warriors don't die. Okay, so keep an eye on that. But the Assyrians, eventually, the Assyrians, people start to team up on them because they're such ruthless rulers that eventually these different groups, the Chaldeans and the Medes, they're just going to basically unite to make sure that they can take down the Assyrians. So kind of they create different alliances. And then tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Monday, I should say, we'll talk about Babylonia under the Chaldeans. We'll talk about Nebuchadnezzar and when the Babylonians take back over. But that's till Monday. Today's all about the Assyrians. So take a look at them. If the notes don't make too much sense for you, go on YouTube, go on Google, take extreme ownership of your academics if you're the online kids, and make sure that you're understanding information. Make sure you're finding the sources and actively pursuing it. All right, that's all I got. Thank you for the people that emailed me yesterday. I think we had 3 of them, so it was a new career high for our class. Nice job, Daryl. Nice job, Garrett. Nice job, Robbins. Shouts out to you guys, and I'll talk to you peoples on Monday. Have a good weekend.